Welcome to the Damn Strong podcast. I'm your host, Bree, and I'm a full-time online fitness coach, and my passion is to educate women on all things fitness. I help women just like you step into the power of knowledge and commitment to ultimately live your best and strongest life. In this podcast, we'll talk about being damn strong in our body, mind, and life. I'll be teaching you how to navigate nutrition, strength training, and mindset challenges. So get ready to take some notes because we're building a damn strong life. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Bree, and this is the Damn Strong podcast. And today we're talking about weight gain, specifically with vacation. So when I'm recording this, it's currently in the summertime. So I felt like this topic could not be more applicable. And I actually made a post on this. And I felt like I really wanted to make a podcast episode on this as well, just because this is my long form content. There's a lot more I can dive into and go into about this on the podcast than I necessarily can on a 10 maximum slide of an Instagram post. And so I just feel like, you can't hear this topic enough. Having this reminder, especially going into the summer season, is going to be super helpful. And this applies not just for vacation, it applies for, holiday time and birthday weekends or whatever, just time that you take away from maybe certain protocols you have set up for yourself. But I'm really going to pound down on, I don't know why I chose that phrasing, but really going to hammer down on vacation, holiday, wherever you are in the world, what you call it, and the weight gain that we quote unquote see from that, and the mindset behind that, and then the logic behind that to help us navigate our emotions. So let's just dive into it. So the first thing that's really, really, really important for you to understand is there's a difference between weight gain and fat gain. You can physically weigh more on the scale, but not actually gain fat. There's lots of ways that can happen. You can physically put food in your body. You could right now go step on the scale, get off, drink a giant cup of water, get back on the scale, and you will physically weigh more even though you haven't put more body fat on. So there's a difference between weight gain and fat gain. The reason understanding that is so important is when you go on vacation, you come back, it is 99.9999% of the time going to just be weight gain. We'll hop into the logic behind all of that, but it's going to be weight gain, not fat gain. I mean, think about this. You have been physically, if you've been in a deficit before you went on your vacation, or if you weren't, if you're at maintenance, you're probably consuming more food on this vacation than you do in your normal everyday life. Okay. So you physically have more stomach content. You physically have more food in your body. So when you come home from that vacation, that day one, you come back and you weigh and you physically have more food in your body. So you're going to weigh more. You have more stomach content, right? Maybe you drink alcohol on this vacation. That's going to cause inflammation. So you're going to retain water. Your sleep schedule might be off. And so there's inflammation there. Your poop schedule is probably off. I know for me, I have the hardest time going to the bathroom when I travel. And so I physically not only have more food in my stomach, but I literally have more poop in my intestines. So I'm going to weigh more because there's physically more of something on the inside of me, right? And you just traveled on a plane. There's inflammation from traveling on the plane and being up at 35,000 feet, right? So you need to remember when you come back from your vacation and you're 4 pounds up after a week vacation, that is going to be weight gain, not fat gain. There's so many other things in our lives that fluctuate up and down, and we don't think hardly anything about it. Think about your bank account, right? So maybe today you just got paid, right? And your bank account went up. You don't look at your bank account. You're like, oh my gosh, I have all this money. This is incredible. You're like, I got paid, but then I have to pay my bills and my bank account's going to fluctuate over the month. And at the end of the month, I can see based on what I spent and how much I made, did I save or did I overspend, right? Your bank account is fluctuating every single day, right? You could have gotten, paid for, your job, and then maybe you got a bonus for something, and you're not, again, looking at your bank account and being like, oh my gosh, all of this money, my bank account is just massive and huge or whatever. You're like, okay, yes, I got my bonus, which can be spent on maybe something fun or extra, or you could pay off some debt or something like that, right? So it's so funny. We look at the scale weight. If it goes up, it goes down. We just think it's the end of the world, right? But when you look at your bank account and it goes up and down on a daily basis, you're not seeing it as the end of the world, right? You're understanding that your bank account is going to constantly fluctuate as you pay things during the month, as you get your income during the month. And at the end of the month, that's what matters overall, right? And so same thing happens with vacations, right? You had more food, didn't go to the bathroom a ton, you drank alcohol, you're just retaining all this water, but all of that is going to, I don't want to say flush out is probably the best way to say that, but all of it is just going to equal right back out when you get home back to your routine. Okay, so now that we've kind of walked through like the weight gain versus fat gain and kind of the emotional, I mean, that is a logical thought process, but that emotionalness of it, let's talk about how logically it's impossible that you gained, 4 pounds in 7 days. I did the math on 4 pounds in 7 days. I'm just going based off of a week-long vacation. Let's say you get back and you are 4 pounds up on the scale. It is quite logically impossible that you gain 4 pounds in 7 days. And let's walk through the math. So to gain a pound of body fat, a lot of people think, oh, I just have to eat 3,500 calories. No, that's incorrect. You have to eat your maintenance calories plus 3,500 to gain a single pound of body fat. So let's just pretend your maintenance calories are 2,000 and we add 3,500 on top of that. That means to gain a single pound of fat in one day, you'd have to eat 5,500 calories in a single day. Okay. So we're going to do the math for 4 pounds of body fat over the course of 7 days. So if we do the math of that, the total calories, divide that by 7, you would have to eat 4,000 calories every single day of that 7-day trip. Not for one day, not for 2 days, not for 3 days, every single day, all 7 days of that 7-day trip, for you to actually truly gain 4 pounds of pure body fat over the 7 days, you would have to eat 4,000 calories every single day without skipping a beat. And if that's difficult to do. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I could just down a whole pizza, like no problem. Like, okay, have you actually tried doing that? Have you actually tried consuming 4,000 calories in a day? Like it's not an easy feat. If you ever watched like a 10,000 calorie challenge on YouTube, it's a struggle. 4,000 calories is still, you're pushing yourself to get to 4,000. It's especially hard if you're someone that's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to listen to my hunger cues. I'm going to put my fork and knife down between bites so I slow down while I'm eating. I'm going to still try to, even though I'm drinking, I'm going to try to make sure I still consume a good amount of water. Like, hey, you know what? Even though we're at an all-inclusive and we're lounging at the beach, I'm just going to go for a quick 30-minute walk along the beach. Like if you're someone that still prioritizes healthy habits of, eating when you're hungry, stopping when you're full, all those things, it's even harder to hit 4,000 calories, right? Maybe you're prioritizing protein at some of your meals. Maybe you're trying to make sure you still get some vegetables in, to get some fiber in. If you are prioritizing healthy habits, it becomes that much harder to consume 4,000 calories every single day for 7 days straight. I mean, could you down a ton of pina coladas one day and just go a little wild, maybe hit 4,000 calories? Sure, you're probably going to be really, really full at the end of the day and you're going to feel that. But for all 7 days straight, especially if you're not having regular bowel movements, especially with the inflammation, all that kind of stuff, it is very, very difficult. So I want you to remember when you come home from a week-long vacation and it says you are 4 pounds up on the scale, you're not truly 4 pounds of body fat up on the scale. Okay. It is extra food in your body, water retention from all the inflammatory things, right? Of alcohol, maybe not getting good sleep, right? Being on the plane, all those kind of things. And the second you get back into your routine, you will see those 4 pounds just absolutely drop right off. Okay, cool. You've learned, hey, you know what? There's weight gain versus fat gain. And it's logically impossible for me to be putting on actual body fat, that much body fat in 7 days. Okay, well, what do I do when I get back? Do I go into a deficit? Like, what do I do? Just go back to your normal stuff. If you go back to your normal eating, your normal habits, workout schedule, walks, steps, whatever, it's cool. You will see literally like overnight, you will be dropping those pounds overnight. Now, it is scary to step on the scale after you've been on vacation. And I'm not against not weighing when you get home. If you're like, hey, I don't want the scale to freak me out, I'm just going to get home. I'm going to go back into my routine for a whole week before I step back on the scale. I am totally pro that. But it also can be a really helpful tool to face your fear of, you know what? I'm going to step on the scale when I get back to show myself what Bree's talking about, to see that, wow, I really do drop back right into it right when I go back to routine. You step on that scale, day one, you're 4 pounds up. The next day, you're a pound down. The next day, you're another pound down. The next day, you're another, and you just see all of that weight just drop right off. Again, it's dependent on where you are in your journey. I'm supportive of either one. I've done both with clients. I've had clients where it's like, hey, when we get back, I want you to see this fluctuation. Like, I want us to face this fear and for you to see that, hey, you can just go right back into routine and everything just goes right back to where you were right before we left for this vacation. But some clients aren't ready to face that yet. They need to go on this vacation, enjoy themselves, come back, just get back into the routine. They enjoy being in the routine and they don't need the cloudy judgment of the scale to discourage them. So depending where you are on your journey, I'm totally pro whatever one you want to do. I don't want to feel like I'm saying I'm forcing anyone like, hey, you should do this when you get back. But you could be that part of your journey where it's like, hey, I need to challenge my mindset on this. And I will say this, whenever you decide to take that step of like, okay, I want to see what Bree's talking about, it's never an easy process. Like it is, you'll be a little bit nervous. You will. I think 100% you will, because you're just like, okay, like, is this actually true? Like, this is what Bree's talking about. And wow, it's scary to see that I'm 4 pounds up on the scale, but she's just saying it's weight gain. I need to get back into the rhythm of things. It's not going to be not nerve-wracking the first time you do it, but it is fun to be like, okay, wow, like Bree's right what she's talking about. I just get right back to my routine, and then I just see everything drop back right back into place where I was before. Okay. Now I'm going to do a little bit of the opposite. And I don't believe I did this maybe I did this in the caption of my post. I can't remember when I posted about this on Instagram, but let's play devil's advocate. Okay. Let's say you actually gained a true 1 pound on your vacation. You didn't gain 4 pounds. Okay. I'm sorry, but none of y'all are eating 4,000 calories per day every single day while you're gone for a week. You're just not. Okay. Let's play like a realistic, like maybe potentially, let's just say you actually gained a single pound of body fat while you're gone for 7 days. Okay. So what? Like, why does that matter? Look back at your vacation. The way I tell all my clients, look back. Let's just say, again, devil's advocate, you actually gained a single pound of body fat. In order to not have gained that pound of body fat, that means that you would have had to make different decisions when you were on your vacation. If you look back at all the fun you had, all the food you got to enjoy, the drinks you got to enjoy, the hiking that you did, the walking around, or maybe the non-walking around, the lounging at the pool, would you have changed any decision that you made on that trip? And a lot of times when I talk to my clients, like, no, I wouldn't. Like, I stopped when I was full. I ate when I was hungry. I didn't overdo on alcohol. I drank my water. I went for, a 15-minute walk in the morning, and it felt really good. Like, all the habits that I had while on this vacation, I wouldn't have changed a single one. I wouldn't have done anything more or anything less. And it's like, okay, then why are we upset about that pound? Like, again, this is if you truly gain a pound of body fat. Why are we so upset about that? Like, you got to enjoy a wonderful vacation. Sure, okay, gain a pound of body fat. You can go into a deficit for a week and you could lose that pound if you really, really wanted to, if that bothered you. And that's a whole nother conversation of like, okay, why is a single pound? Why do you feel like you even need to go into a deficit for a single pound of body fat, right? But so what? Like, I always use the example, and I probably have used it on previous podcasts, but like, if God was to come down from the heavens and be like, hey, Bree, heard you're really upset about that pound of body fat. I'm like, yeah, I'm really upset that I gained a pound of body fat on this vacation. Be like, look, I'll make you a deal. I will take away that pound of body fat from you, but you have to give me all your best memories from this trip. You want to make the trade? I'd be like, hell no. Like, I'll take the pound of body fat. First, again, I know if I really needed to, again, a whole different discussion, but if I really need to, I could totally go into a deficit for a week and a half, lose that pound of body fat. But at the same time, I wouldn't trade any of my memories. Again, I wouldn't make different choices. Now, I'm sure there's some of you who go on vacation, you're like, man, I stuffed myself to the brim and I didn't drink any water, and you don't feel great, but that's so much less about the weight gain and more about the healthy habits that you're setting yourself up for. I was just talking to someone in my DMs recently. It was on basically this topic. I posted, again, this post about, weight gain and vacation. And someone DM'd me. I don't know if she listens to this podcast or not, and I won't share her name, but she DM'd me and was like, hey, I've been on vacation. I'm on vacation. I think it's like 2 or 3 weeks or something like that. And she's like, I'm really struggling, like if I'm going to gain weight or how my weight's going to fluctuate on here and all this. I was like, okay, well, give me a little insight into what your trip's been looking like. She's like, I constantly overeat. I'm eating when I'm not hungry, blah, 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 all this stuff. And I was like, I think this trip is way less about if you gain weight or not. And the fact that you need to learn to honor your hunger cues. If you're not hungry, let's not eat. If you're hungry, absolutely enjoy it. If you want dessert, have the dessert, but you also don't have to have dessert if you don't want it. I think this trip is more about you instilling healthy and good habits that is going to carry you out for the rest of your life, more so than if I'm losing body fat, if I'm maintaining my body fat, or if I'm gaining body fat. Because at the end of the day, we can count and track calories all we want, but I'm going to assume 99.9% of you do not want to track calories for the rest of your life. And so learning these healthy habits is so, 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 so helpful. I literally tell all my clients when they go on vacation, I'm like, hey, I don't want you tracking a single calorie. Like, don't worry about your step goal. I want us to instill healthy habits. These are habits that you would do regardless of if you were in a deficit, surplus, maintenance, whatever you're at. I want you to stop eating when you're full. I want you to put your fork and knife down between bites. I want you to actually, if you're going to be consuming alcohol, give yourself a number. Like, you want to have 3 drinks, you want to have 4, that's awesome, but let's stick to that number. Let's not go crazy and overdo it. Let's still enjoy water. If you want to go for walks because that makes you feel good, awesome, go for it. If you want to go and work out while you're on vacation, because it makes you feel good, awesome, go for it. But the habits that we're going to focus on that your vacation are the habits that you are going to be doing regardless of whatever phase that you're in. And so I think the mindset thing that you may need to dig in here for yourself is less about if I'm gaining weight or if I'm gaining fat, but it's more about, do I like the choices that I make on vacation? As much as I'm talking about how, vacation can, you can practice these habits that are going to reflect your life for the long term, right? Like stopping when you're full, eating when you're hungry, all that. Also remember, like, vacation doesn't represent your everyday normal life. It's okay if you go a little bit past fullness. It's okay if you decide, hey, you know what? I want a few bites of dessert and I'm not really hungry for it, but it looks really good. I just want a few bites, right? It's okay if what you're doing, if you don't go for any walks, if you don't work out, vacation is not there to represent your normal everyday life. But I think it's also good and healthy to practice these kind of habits, again, of stopping when you're full, getting some type of movement, because it makes you feel good. You don't feel great when you overstuff yourself. Like, yes, you might be like, oh my gosh, this ice cream is so good, but it's not so good that it's worth getting sick over. And you always can go back for more, right? I mean, I know, like, if you're taking like a once in a lifetime trip to like Italy, you're like, I don't know how often or how much more gelato I'm going to get. And so you're like, I want to enjoy as much gelato as possible, but just get some gelato every day, but let's not overstuff yourself where you feel sick and you feel miserable, right? There's this balance of like, hey, you're going on vacation. I want you to enjoy all the things that comes with that. But let's also make you feel good on vacation. And let's make these long-term habits serve you for when you're not tracking, you don't have these specific goals. So I know that was a lot of different topics covered and a lot of things I went into there, but I think it's important. Again, it's summertime and a lot of you guys are traveling and you really need to recognize that, like, hey, go on vacation, enjoy your time, practice healthy habits that you would have regardless of whatever phase you're in your life. Again, whether that's a bulk, deficit, I mean, I guess maintenance, you'd be practicing these regardless, but like whatever phase you're in, practice those healthy habits. Understand you're going to have some weight gain, but that doesn't mean fat gain. Logically, it's impossible for you to put on 4 pounds in 7 days or 3 pounds in 7 days or 7 pounds in 7 days. Like, logically, it's going to be impossible, especially if you're someone that is trying to practice healthy habits. And at the end of the day, like, again, playing devil's advocate, if you actually put on a pound of body fat, like, so what? You had an awesome vacation with awesome memories and an awesome time. Why are we letting 1 pound of body fat ruin that? Again, if you want to go back and change any of the habits or change any of the decisions that you made, why are we so worried about it? Again, I can recognize, and like I said earlier, that if you're going on these vacations and you're stuffing yourself to you're miserable and you just feel like ick the whole time you're on vacation, that's way less about fat gain or fat loss on a trip. It's way more about how can I establish healthy habits where I feel like I have a wonderful trip and I enjoy myself, but I also feel good that entire trip. So I hope this episode was helpful. I hope it gave you some food for thought on your next vacation, or maybe you just came back from vacation, or maybe you have something set up for later in the year, or like maybe you're thinking about the holidays. Again, all this applies anytime you take time off from your protocols that you have set up for, just your fitness, just being healthy, your fitness life, whatever that may be. You're not undoing all your progress in that short term or amount of time, whether that's the holiday season or that's vacation or going on a holiday or it's, a long weekend or whatever it may be. You're not undoing all of the progress that you think you are, and you're self-sabotaging yourself when you come back from vacation. You step on that scale and you say, well, why do I even try? I just undid the last 4 weeks. And then you keep repeating this cycle when you actually didn't undo anything. You go right back into what you were doing, and you'll see over the course of the week, you will drop right back down to where you were at right before you left for that trip, and you had a great time and you enjoyed yourself. And the biggest thing is a lot of people self-sabotage after their vacations and their trip. All right, guys, that is going to be the end of today's episode. If you enjoyed this, as always, please leave a 5-star review on Spotify and a 5-star and a little review on Apple Podcast. And a free way to support the show is to screenshot, share this on your stories, and tag me so I can reshare this to my stories. If you guys have any follow-up, feedback, whatever, feel free to shoot me a DM. I would love to hear from you, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Bye. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Damn Strong Podcast. Show me some love by leaving a review and sharing a screenshot of this episode on your Instagram stories. Until next time, stay strong.